So today's event, we're very proud to host the COVID-19 Solutions Response Panel with a great ensemble of problem solvers who define the core values of entrepreneurship. So without further ado, our special panel today is composed of Alberto González from Rendezview, Gregory Kim from Help is on the Way, and Traven Watase from Hawaii Towards Zero. So we decided to bring this panel together because during these unprecedented times that we're living in, these Hawaii entrepreneurs responded quickly and created solutions to provide value to our communities. So first off, we have Alberto González. He's the co-founder of Rendezview. I personally had the experience of meeting Alberto in the Summer Startup Launchpad. And everybody here at Pace are extremely proud of how far Rendezview has come. Rendezview is a web platform that allows your entire team to interact, create and edit all in the same space and place, all in the same content simultaneously, and closes the gap between remote and in-person collaboration. Currently, Alberto is graduating this spring with his Ph.D. in computer science from UH. So next off, we have Traven Watase. Traven is the founder of Hawaii Towards Zero. You may have heard of Hawaii Towards Zero on the local news recently. It's an online platform that allows people to report their symptoms, pledge their support, track COVID-19 updates. And also Traven is also the founder of Scholars App, and his app helps providers connect to more qualified scholarship applicants. And last but not least, we have Gregory Kim from Help is on the Way. So Greg is the brains behind the nonprofit hihelpisontheway.org. It's a new platform that offers free delivery services for Kapuna, quarantine individuals, families, and others in need. Greg is not new to volunteer work. He is a longtime professional in residence here at Pace, offers countless pro bono hours with legal advice to students. And I've actually met Greg through our PIR program here at Pace, and I highly recommend him for legal and startup advice. Greg's day job is founder of Vantage Counsel LLC. It's a Hawaii-based firm that offers value-driven corporate and business law services. So thank you all to our panelists for being here today. So we're just going to dive straight into the questions. So to start, panelists, tell us where you're joining from, and tell us a little bit about what you were doing before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, so, wait, sorry, what was the last thing?
Sorry, so tell us where you're joining from and a little bit about what you were doing before the pandemic hit.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm joining right now from San Francisco. Just got back in here and currently live in the San Francisco Bay Area right now. Just before the pandemic hit, I was working on Scholars App, which is my full-time thing, what I want to be doing full-time. And yeah, I really got affected by COVID, as well as, even being stuck places where you didn't want to be stuck with in other countries. So that's what I was doing before the pandemic.
Hi. So myself, I'm home right now here, local in Hawaii. I am close to Ala Moana, working from my living room, basically. My personally hasn't changed too much what I'm doing, just because we were working on Rendezview before the pandemic. So what I guess has changed a lot in the last 2 months, we have to wrap and work a lot on it just to release the platform as soon as possible. And we're thinking that the platform was going to be released during the summer, and eventually we had to wrap it up these 2 months and have it released right now. That was basically the biggest change, I would say.
Cool.
Hi, this is Greg. First of all, happy Star Wars Day. You guys didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
These things still happen. So what was I doing before it hit? Well, my usual, I guess, volunteering, spending time with Peter, Tracy, Crystal. I don't know if Kirk had started yet when your start date was, but, and then working, playing bagpipes, playing trombone, having a good life. So yeah, that's what was happening. Okay, next.
So as I mentioned earlier today, today's live event is about the COVID-19 problem solvers. So share with us the solutions you created in response to COVID-19. But first start with how you identified the problem. So we'll start off with Traven.
Yeah, so for us, basically, COVID really affected me and our team I'm with two of my friends. Also, both of them have relations to PACE as well, which is very awesome to see that come forward with. So the problem that we have is like, I just really didn't want to like sit on my butt during COVID and do nothing. I was, because of COVID, I actually got trapped in Buenos Aires, and I just came back after 7 weeks there. And, it was just like, as I was sitting in the Airbnb for 7 weeks, I never wanted to leave. It was just like, want to do something proactive instead of just sitting down. And basically what we thought was just like, all of these new resources are coming out for COVID. That everyone, this is just a new world for everyone. How do you navigate this new world that we're in? Can we build something to navigate it, which is just basically a resource guide? And then other team members threw in the idea of like symptoms and pledges and things like that. And it was like, sure, let's build a site and see what happens, basically. And had no idea it would come out to where it was, which is the initial thought process was, okay, let's spend about 5 hours on this a week, and then let's see what happens. And if 100 people use it, that'd be great. And then from there, it really quickly, we got more involved with different things going on with different organizations and different problems. So now it went from just a way to help people navigate it to how can we help out other nonprofits in this initiative, and what skill set can we provide to them. So it's almost more like we're becoming in this phase of Hawaii Towards Zero, almost like project managers, where we're going in and fixing other solutions for other nonprofits at the moment. And that is just phase 2 of this plan of where we're going to go. But that's how we identified it. We're just being told what the problems are and just jumping in to as many fires as possible.
That's awesome.
That's great, Robin. So I guess for us, since we started like before COVID, like the idea for the project, I would say that sparked like maybe 3 years ago or 3.5 years ago, more or less. Basically, what was happening back then is we work in the university, the main founders, in a research lab that is called LABA. Basically, we work with visualization and analytics, and most of the work that we do is based on large display walls. So that is like a lot of TVs all connected together. And we were having a lot of visits from the government here in the islands. I remember Navy, NSA coming and seeing what we were working on. And they were really interested on something like that because they already have bought like all of these big display walls where they where they have in their offices, but they couldn't work with them in the way that they would want to work with them, because basically they couldn't touch the content on the large displays. So if you imagine they have like a computer that still has like one input, so you have only one mouse and one keyboard. So they will have all of those displays with all of the information displayed there, but they wouldn't have any good way of interacting with the content of those displays. So from there, we started working with the business school, I guess, on the base programs, and starting to see how we could build like a business from that. And we were seeing also that the tendency in the industry was to shift a little bit to more remote or distributed companies and less centralized companies. And you could see that already in Silicon Valley with companies sparkling in some other places and not only in the Valley, just because it's so expensive. Right now, the globalization of the world was telling us too that basically the companies had to fight for the talent. It's not the other way around right now. So they have to find talent wherever it is, and they have to find it. If the best talent for developing, maybe it's in a country, they have to find it there. So with those ideas and those trends, that's what we're basically thinking. But everything changed this year with COVID because everybody basically had to jump into remote work. And that showed two main things, that they were people that were prepared to do this and people that were totally unprepared to do it because they didn't have not only the tools, but the workflows and the knowledge of how to do that properly. And that has speed a lot of our work basically in the last couple of months.
Cool. So we switch it over to Greg.
Okay, well, our story is very simple. Basically, I just got pissed off, and as entrepreneurs, when something bothers you, you don't think of complaining, you think of solutions. So I just got tired of hearing people complain about kupuna, not getting groceries, being mistreated. And then you would see all these pictures posted on the internet. If I could share just a few here. So you've all seen these pictures, right? I mean, it's sort of ridiculous. And everyone's posting these things. And so basically, I was telling some of my friends on chatting with Facebook that, hey, why don't you do something about it, And they didn't do anything about it. This was like mid-March, like around 21st or so. So then March 22nd, I just decided I'm going to just do something, and incorporated Help is on the Way March 22nd, which is a Sunday. And then the following Monday, we got going. So it was basically just getting upset at a situation and trying to do something about it.
So, Greg, why choose Kupuna, or why choose quarantine individuals, especially right now? You know, what is the method of helping them through your program?
Well, they're the whole reason for us. So they kind of chose us. So basically, you know, people need to stay home, right? And so my thought was, well, why don't people just deliver stuff to them? You know, it's very simple. Then a couple days later, after I'd thought about this, I saw NBC did a report on these 2 college students in New York City that started something similar, and it blew up from just 2 of them to, they had 2,500 volunteers in short order. So I was thinking, well, that's sort of a good trend for entrepreneurial type people. You want to see a epidemic, right, happen. So, so basically, and Kupuna is a very sympathetic market. I mean, when you talk about, can you get help helping Kupuna, that's like a no-brainer, you know. But I would want to just say, we don't just help Kupuna. We're unlike some of the other organizations. We help anyone that needs to stay home. It could be quarantined individuals, returning residents, could be healthcare workers who are locked in a hotel. So it's not just Kupuna, it's anyone that we've helped COVID patients get food because they can't leave their homes, right? So yeah, but Kupuna is a majority of it, that's for sure.
Cool. So Travin, we love seeing interdisciplinary teams come together. How did you link up with your partners and come up with the idea for Hawaii Towards Zero?
Oh, so that was just through PACE. I mean, how we linked up with everyone. So, I mean, from my experience with Scholars App, you really learn about, you know, you really want to pick your teammates, good teammates. And I couldn't really think of anyone better than Rose and Leo to do this in terms of their work ethic and then prior knowledge and just, you know, have the entrepreneurial spirit. So that's why I just gave them those 2 a call, and thankfully we jumped in. And yeah, how we came up with the idea for Hawaii Towards Zero was just, you know, kind of like Greg, I kind of got annoyed too. I was annoyed more at the messaging of, you know, I'm not going to say anything against the doctors here, but when the doctors are telling us we need to flatten the curve, to me that sounds long, very long and depressing, and doesn't sound like something to inspire the community to get involved. And I thought like a more of an inspirational message needs to be done in order to get the community like mobilized in a quarantine and law-abiding way. So the idea was just like, what can we do to put people on a path of having 0 infections in Hawaii, which, you know, it's hopefully will happen someday, or will happen one day. But that was the idea, the initial idea behind it. And obviously, as we went into the market, things change, and we're just trying to adapt as quickly as possible.
Awesome, thank you, Travin. So Alberto, your story's a little different since you were working on Rendezview before the pandemic hit. Why is your platform even more applicable today, especially?
Yeah, I mean, if you think a little bit, at least the way I see it is, one of the most difficult things to do with people is change behaviors. Just because, you know, as humans, we like to repeat the things that we do in the same way. So we were, as I was saying before, we're seeing people in the previous years that we knew that eventually they would jump into more remote work and more distributed companies. But what has happened now is that because everybody has to adapt to this and everybody has to make the shift, one of the things that we already observed is that I think around 78% of the CEOs that have been asked if they're going to keep remote workers, they are saying that they are going to keep some of those workers remote forever now. When before they wouldn't have making that decision just because they had to try and see if it would work for them. So I would say that that's the biggest thing that has changed. I don't think the problem has changed per se. Like the same problems that were applied before still exists right now. And the easiest way of seeing that, I guess, is just the amount of applications that we use to collaborate. And that's what we're trying to solve a little bit. So in the sense of, if you think about whatever you guys are using today, you're probably using 6 or 7 applications, from Google Docs to Zoom to any other application that you use, Slack or all of those applications. And eventually the companies that work today now distributed or working remotely with them. they suffer a lot because they have all of these pockets of information that they are separated. So part of what we're working on is how we could put all that information in a centralized place where they could be working better.
I see. So tell us, Alberto, like what were some of the initial goals that Rendezview had? And what kind of traction or significant milestones have you made since the start?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because actually, I think yesterday was the anniversary when we won the business competition in the university. So like 2 years ago, I think we participated in the business competition. For us, that was great because at the beginning of that year, so on September of the previous year was when we were starting thinking about doing this. And we used the competition as kind of to make all the founders of the company to focus on the work and see where we could take it. And yeah, at the beginning, all of the business programs in PACE have been really helpful and guide the idea of what we're working on. And that's been like the most difficult thing for us, I guess, just because it's such a general application, or what we wanted to work with any kind of application to work remotely. So it has been like a lot of how to focus the idea and to find the problem and where the problem is. In terms of traction, we've always gotten like all positive feedbacks. When we had like all of our prototypes released, people were using them and they were happy. So it was most of us delivering the technology and having the technology ready, which I think more or less now is in a state where people can start using it. And now we are starting to see like some of companies to try to see how they can use the software. So one of the companies that maybe some people know here is Instant Teams, which is a local company that they have like basically 1,000 remote workers. And we were trying to, for example, talk with them to see how we could use the system to improve their workflow. And they understand and they have a lot of ideas on how the system could change the way that they are doing the things today and improve those workflows.
Thank you. Yeah, it's honestly fantastic to see how far Rendezview has come since inception. And you and your team has been hustling ever since day one. So it's really awesome to see that.
Thanks.
Over to Gregory. So what was Help is on the way? What was the initial goals, and what kind of traction or significant milestones have you made since you started?
Oh, okay. Well, you kind of surprised me there. I was kind of looking at something. Okay. Well, basically, our initial goals when we planned, we basically had no plan. So I know that I've talked to Pace about this and Susan before, that I'm not a big believer in business plans when it comes to entrepreneurship. I think you have to do them as a thinking process, but the value of the entrepreneur is how you react to what you've learned, not so much what you think is going to happen up front, because it's where you end that matters, not where you start. So, so with that in mind, basically, when we started this thing in March 22nd, all we wanted to do is deliver groceries to people. So, gathered some of my contacts that were really great people. And then we just started doing it. We had no technology, but I posted on Facebook. Next thing I know, the city and county of Honolulu calls me to say, hey, can you work with us? Because we don't have that piece figured out. So I'm like, Derek Ariyoshi called me. I'm like, okay. And I don't know why he called me. I mean, maybe, I guess there was a scarcity of delivery services for free, but I think part of our advantage actually is that most of the people on our team have been around for a while and are known quantities. And so I think vetting of startups is an important thing. So, our team includes Jen Latham. She's an Episcopal minister. Her husband's Mike Latham, the president of Punahou. Kat Tashner, she's a partner at the course in Miho law firm. Nate Wade, who went to UH Law School, he's our IT. So, I mean, that's the caliber of the people we have. Kimmy Ide Foster and Anya Chang. So getting great people together was really key. And then the other thing I would say is that they're all aligned. So when I had people join, I told them my philosophy, which is I don't care if I get sued. I know that sounds weird coming from a lawyer, but when you're a startup, you have to do things differently, because if you don't do things differently, then you're not a good startup. So what we did differently is we didn't really care about liability. And what I wanted to convey to the team was we have to just take action. Let's not worry about risk. Some of the other nonprofits in town that were starting up were really spending a lot of time on their legal agreements and things of that sort. I didn't put it in place, a legal agreement, till last week. You know, and I guess the thing is, if I'm going to get sued, then it's fine, because I don't mind getting sued by trying to help people. You know, I think the risk is actually low, because if a volunteer sues me for getting COVID, I'm like, where you been, buddy? You know, and you know, we do use Slack. Nathan Wade quickly told us, you know, email and texting won't do. So Slack's been a fantastic platform for us, where we can contact our drivers immediately. We're basically a simple beast. We're a taxi cab company. We just don't charge. And that's really been the model in my mind. You know, so we have dispatch team. We increased it from 3 to 5 recently. We're just getting bombarded now, you know, and that's just a sign of the times. People are hungry out there. You know, this is an aside, but right now they're so hungry that they're emailing us and just say, can you get me some food, please? You know, I don't know how many people on this call are hungry or without food, but there's a lot of people out there that way. So it's, you know, that's just FYI, you know, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we do food distributions on Friday. People are getting violent. And so this Friday, I'm going to have a police officer join us just to make sure we keep the peace, because I don't think violence is necessarily impossible in this situation, or looting, if they're not taken care of. I could go, I don't want to take too much time. I can go into more things that we've learned, but you know, maybe I should pause right there.
No, it was a great seeing you on TV, and you know, going out of your way and helping others in need, especially delivering.
Oh yeah, I mean, we got the advertiser article the very first week that we started, and that helped us. So that's a big tool, right, for startups, is to get publicity, which is a lot more credible than any kind of other marketing, advertising. And so I was kind of surprised. I basically just sent an email to the advertiser on that Sunday that I incorporated, saying, hey, we're doing this, maybe you can do an article or get the word out. And then they actually did a pretty big feature on us. So that really kickstarted us into, gives credibility too, right? Where you can show people, oh, you know, you're legit, because that's always a big question at the start. So
Absolutely. We're going to toss that same question over to Travin. So what has Hawaii Towards Zero seen in terms of traction or significant milestones?
Yeah, so actually kind of just like what Greg said too, we started off with a press release as well. And basically our metric was, when we first started, was, you know, I kind of told the team, I was like, if 1,000 people view this, I'm good. You know, like my time is worth it. I'm fine. You know, because it's just a resource page is the main thing of how we can add most value in the initial beginning, like initially to the user. So it's like 1,000 people, I'm done. I'm good. Give me a month. I'm fine. Because I still thought, like, you know, my full-time job is still Scholars App at the end of the day too. And my other co-founders are running their own businesses as well and trying to figure out with COVID. We had over 10,000 people to the site within a week.
Wow.
And that, you know, blew off that metric. And then when we kind of realized that, you know, the skill sets that we had were beneficial to other organizations, you know, now what we're doing is we're going into other organizations. And what I'm tracking personally, or for us as a group, is, you know, how can we help other people help more people? So like if we, for example, one of our best automation groups or stuff is like some organizations are doing like other types of deliveries as well. And their main thing was technology. And then now they're able to do more because now it's all automated, right? Or in other stuff too, where we're just going in and working with also government agencies now and things like that, where it's like, wow, so 2 to 3 hours of my time, like sometimes the people come back crying, just like how much easier their work process is, and then they can go out and serve more people. To me, that's more of a valuable metric for me at the moment, and I can speak for my team on that. And then that's kind of like the phase that we're in now of the metrics we're tracking.
Oh yeah, that's a great segue into my next question, which would be, you know, what was the most rewarding part of Hawaii Towards Zero so far? And it sounds like it was just being able to help people and help those people help other people.
Yeah, I mean, I won't name names on this, but one of the organizations we helped, like the person just almost was crying. As soon as like we automated it, everything, like they're scaling and they're growing, and then, they're like, wow, I didn't even know that this was possible. Like, from doing stuff manually by hand is like, that's not scalable right now. And getting it down to 90% of your work is now automated, where you don't have to do copy and paste and things like that. I was surprised because I didn't understand that was an actual valuable skill set at the moment. And, from those moments, I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe other organizations need this too. And it honestly almost became a business on its own, where I went from helping out nonprofits for free to now getting job offers, which it's pretty unreal of like how that, I didn't even know that was of value. But yeah, that was the most rewarding moment of when anyone's like about to tear up or something like that, or you see the impact in their eyes and they can tell you, I'm going to go out and help twice as much more people within X amount of time. That was worth my time to build that.
No, yeah, I've been extremely proud of you guys, from the very beginning to now. You guys even added a call center. Is that right?
Yeah, run by real doctors and nurses. So
Awesome.
if you need anything, they'll even check up on you as well. So if you report symptoms, they will call you and check up and make sure everything's okay. We launched that, right after, there was a patient that, went home. We don't, obviously we only know what the news said about that patient, but the idea is like, if you have coronavirus symptoms, maybe you should be checked on until fully recovered. So that was just something that, we just launched out of that and see how it works. And we're still testing it right now, honestly.
Great to hear. So Alberto, for Rendezview, what was the most rewarding result of creating Rendezview?
I mean, I guess for us, it's the reward of seeing the users enjoying the platform and solving the problems that they cannot solve. I think that what Robin is saying, it's really important. It's about the workflows of the people and how they are solving the problems. And sometimes the people don't know exactly how to solve a problem, and then you are able to do this automatically, and then they can deal their intelligence and resources to solve other problems and try to fix those. So I would say that any place that we are putting the platform and is solving, their workflow, and then they can do things that they weren't able to do, and allows them to find or other distributed workers or work better from being remotely, or anybody that we can help. So a lot of the reason why we were building this so fast right now was, at least personally for me, I was geared because of my country. If you've seen, I'm from Spain, so if you've seen the news, my country has been stopped for 2 months and a half. They haven't had any school. They have been all at home, like totally enclosed without going anywhere. So the education was mostly stopped. They don't know what's going to happen yet, actually, if they're going to be able to open anything or not. So the software that we are building could be leveraged perfectly in education. And if we are able to manage that and offer it for free, or something that's sustainable for the product to education, that would be great.
No, yeah, I agree, because I personally believe we're going to see probably the biggest tectonic shift in just working in general in the workforce. And Rendezview is going to be one of those puzzles and the pieces of that, that's going to create solutions for the future. So thank you so much for creating the platform.
Thanks for the
right? So Greg, with help is on the way, there are a lot of rewarding factors, but what to you has been the most rewarding thing for help is on the way?
Well, I might mention a couple, two maybe. So I always relate life to movies because I love watching TV. So I saw this movie recently, and it's called Pearl Harbor by Disney. And there's a line by Captain Doolittle, Commander Doolittle, who led the raid on Tokyo. You're familiar with that? After the bombing of Pearl Harbor, just to show them that they're also, going to be challenged. So he pointed to two pilots that had volunteered for the duty, which was almost like a death mission. And he goes, "We're going to win the war. You know why? Look at those guys. Volunteers. There's nothing like the heart of a volunteer." And that really resonated with me and what we're doing, because we're 100% volunteer. I've never seen performance like the way these people perform. When we send out a delivery request, we normally get it taken within 5 minutes. And people complain to me that, wow, I can't get any assignments because they're gone. Yeah, because we have volunteers that are like rabid dogs. And that's what you really want in a workforce. I think that translates to employees too, for certain companies, like startups that have a mission, right? If you have believers, then that's going to be the main thing. But the other thing I want to mention, there's just so many, but the other rewarding thing is just the response we get from people, like Travin was talking about people crying to, about the help that he was offering, or, I hope that's why they were crying. But anyway, so I'll just show you real quick some of the reactions we get. I mean, I think words speak louder here. Their words will speak louder. So, so this is a lady that I had been contacted by early on. She was home, but she needed to get a urine sample to her doctor. So I went to the doctor, picked up the vials, went to her house. She wasn't ready to make shishi. So I said, oh, and they said, go home already, we'll take it. I said, no, that's not the point. So I just went to Safeway for about a half hour, called me back, took it up, delivered it to her doctor. So pretty simple thing. And so this is the kind of, reaction you get. It's just kind of kills you. I mean, I had gotten a lot of thank yous, but that one kind of blew me away. And then the other, so I would just say that I'm always going to remember the way that people appreciated what we did. And, that counts more in life than money. And that's a good lesson for when you have employees. Having a meaningful job and doing good in the world really motivates people much more than the pay. I mean, they have to have pay, but I think the meaning really, really gets them going.
No, yeah, that's an amazing story. That you're practically a real life superhero. All you're missing is the cape at this point. And that's a great segue, into my next question is, we have a captive audience here in our Zoom meeting. So what kind of help do you need, and how can people get in touch with you?
Oh.
Who goes first?
Greg.
Oh, okay. Well, of course, volunteers. We're always looking for good drivers. Our vetting system is very, very careful, though. We have probably a couple hundred still on our wait list, but we do the interviews and reference checks unless we know you. If we know you, then you go faster. So because that's been the lifeblood. Our drivers are reliable, on time, always show up. And I'm not going to name names, but there are other organizations in town where drivers don't even show up. So I think having that close-knit volunteer corps has been great. One thing we just started, and I'm always thinking of, first of all, we got to keep doing what we do. We just do delivery. We don't do food supply. We don't shop. We don't handle money. But there's a food shortage now. Food bank is running low. They're challenged. People are constantly asking us now for food. And so we just started this network, and I called it the Angel Food Network. It's basically a peer-to-peer distributed network of groceries. And so rather than have a centralized bank of food, if we got thousands of people in Hawaii to donate one bag of food, then that could hold us for a long time. So it's basically, like an Airbnb or Uber of groceries. So if you have a bag of groceries you're willing to donate, that's one thing you can do, is ask us to pick it up, and we will hold it and deliver it to a needy person. And so we're not going to centrally store it. The volunteer driver holds the groceries until we deploy it. And so that would be the one. Can I just show you real quick our flyer that we just actually posted on this program? And so, it's a very simple process. You just contact us and we pick up your groceries. So, can't get any simpler than that. But it's a peer-to-peer, people helping people. And I think it's kind of like the giving tree at Christmas time, that, you take an ornament and then you buy presents for somebody, but this time you're actually feeding them. It's the same idea.
Excellent.
So that's the main thing.
So Travin, in terms of Hawaii Towards Zero, what kind of help do you need, if possible, and how can people get in touch with you?
So right now we need more users to sign up, because what we kind of like how Greg mentioned, he's looking for volunteers and resources. All of our partner nonprofits that we work with are also looking for this, same things in terms of volunteers, in terms of other things. So what we actually do at Hawaii Towards Zero is not only are you registering so that you can actually get help, but it's actually so you can opt in to help out other people in our networks. So for example, if someone says that they need more drivers, someone says that you need more resources, things like that, please consider when you sign up, opt into our text message notifications. So we will send that out to you and see how you can help out your community, your local community.
Awesome, thank you. So for Alberto, how can our captive audience be able to learn more about Rendezview and also use your platform?
Well, first, I think everybody in the company is from UH or ex-alumni from UH, so we're always looking for people. So if anybody wants to get exposed to some entrepreneurship, or they have some experience and they want to chat with me, they can shoot me an email and we can chat about that. And then mainly we're looking now similar for users and registrations, so they can use the platform. Or if they know somebody that's struggling with some of the things that we could do, forward them to the platform. Things like that is the best help that anybody could give us.
Awesome, cool. So the next part of our segment, we're going to open the floor for our Q&A session. So anybody in our audience, if you have any questions, please go ahead and type it in the chat feature, and Marcus will be able to relay your questions to the panelists.
Hey guys, so I'm Marcus, and I'll be relaying your questions. I actually want to start with a question of my own, if that's okay. So my question was, what are your guys' plans for your initiative in the near future and like post COVID-19 pandemic? And any of you guys can answer it first.
So for Hawaii Brazil, like I said, our first phase was trying to just like help out people with the resources. Now it's right now we're focused on helping automate as many nonprofits as possible and creating as much partners as possible. From there, it will really depend on the scale of which COVID actually gets for Hawaii, because right now it seems to be, flattening the curve has been pretty well for Hawaii. But for us, the third phase that we're going to go into once we have enough nonprofit partners and that's all automated is we're going to make all the systems talk to each other and be able to allocate resources faster, identify need faster from individuals. And the play that we're going on, if needed, in order to build out that third phase, is to try and be an operating system for COVID in Hawaii. So very a technology play in this.
I guess that for Rendezview, more or less, the steps now are starting working probably with people in education or small startups, small companies, since we have to manage that the application is performing as it should. And with those individuals, people usually technically savvy, so they can run into hiccups and stuff with the platform and they can tell us so we can fix them. And that will be like the first phase, probably the next month or something like that. And then start talking with the people that we have more connections to and are more safe to start testing in an industrial or more in a commercial setting, and then kind of move both worlds simultaneously. So right now it's a lot of how can we help anybody that needs a system like this, and that could be you don't have the resources to pay for any collaboration software. The platform right now is going to be free and things like that. Non-profits too and stuff like that. I would say that's more or less our organization, and that could be probably around the end of the summer of these steps. So.
For us, we're just trying to get through this period, but in my research, trying to look at different resources, there are a lot of cities that have volunteer driving corps for seniors generally. And so I think not having one in Honolulu, I know from personal experience, when people get older, they can't really go out and pick up things for themselves. So, but we're going to take it a step at a time. I know that the Kapuna Food Security Coalition asked me that same question because they probably would want this kind of service to continue. But I think the lesson there is just do what you love, do it really well, and actually something will probably fall out of it.
Yeah. I don't know how that feels because I actually live with my grandma, so I have to go out and get groceries for her because obviously we want to keep her safe. So that's so awesome what you're doing as well. So we want to do something really fun for the Q&A session. What we're gonna do is a quick lightning round. So basically, I'm gonna ask a question, and then you guys will respond with a one word or one phrase answer, and they're just quick questions, and they'll go quick. And the order will be Travin, Alberto, and then Greg. Are you guys ready for that?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So first question: if it weren't for the stay-at-home order, what would you be doing right now?
I wouldn't have been trapped in Buenos Aires for so long. I will be continuing working on Scholar's app.
I will be doing probably the same thing, working in a similar situation, so that doesn't change mine too much.
Two things: we would have been to New Zealand, and I would have gone to Seattle to compete in a bagpipe competition, which both had to be canceled.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, for Travis. So how has Scholars App responded to the recent events of COVID-19?
Yeah, so we're really lucky where the whole reason why I got trapped down in Buenos Aires is because one developer is there and operations manager as well. They're traveling around. So I went out there to actually work on a new product that actually helps scholarship providers review applications remotely and process them faster. So we got out that product really quickly, knowing that our donors are generally 70, 80-year-old people on a committee that are gathered around some kind of round table and applications. So we got that deployed. We got our first users on that. Very excited about that. Even signed a new person to that yesterday. So I'm very excited. And then what we realized is we actually passed a pretty major milestone for Scholars App where more high school seniors have an account than actually graduate from high school and go to college. Meaning that, the percentage is, I don't want to reveal that percentage on a recorded call, but it got to the point where schools are reaching out to us to communicate with their kids and us be the liaison so we built out tools for that as well. So counselors can communicate with their kids directly through our platform as well. And we're getting doing some small sponsorships too of different tools because once the DOE found out it's we're not going back to class, a lot of them were not prepared on that standpoint. So our focus is the college counselor. So we're just building out as many tools and even sponsoring third-party tools that are not on Scholars App right now in order to make their lives easier.
That's great to hear.
And then back to our lightning round. The next question is, what can you leave the house without?
Right now, a mask.
I would say my dog and a mask.
Oh.
I don't know. I would say that when I go out, I try to be efficient. So, I bring my shopping list, because go to Target or whatever. So one of the advantages of doing delivery is that you can get out of the house. So that's been a blessing. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question is, what is the last book you read?
So I don't read, as bad as that sounds. I'll just be straight honest with that. So the last audiobook I listened to was Can't Hurt Me.
Yeah, my last book, I have it there. It's in Spanish, so it's a bit difficult to make a translation, I guess. It's like he's talking about the third world economy, I guess, and the resurgence of the third world economy, convergence or something like that might be the name in English.
Well, I've read this book. I'm in a theology program. It's at Pacific School of Religion, and it's by Edmund Opitz. It's called Religion, Capitalism, Allies, Not Enemies. And my thesis has to do with the fact that churches need to become more entrepreneurial.
So we actually have a question from the audience, from Minji Chan. It says, hi, thank you for all that you guys are doing for our communities during this pandemic. The question is, what was the biggest challenge you've had to overcome growing your initiative?
I mean, I was honestly surprised. The first day we launched, we actually got some people reach out to us to tell us to shut down, which was fairly interesting. When we're not taking payments, we're just trying to help and put things together. I was very surprised about that. So, I think for us it was just understanding like what the pushback was and addressing it properly, and just also making sure we're not stepping on anyone's toes while we're doing it. And that's also the reason why we're just trying to make other people better rather than trying to do something else completely on our own.
I would say the biggest challenges that we probably face is the amount of effort. So most of the people that's working in the company have like double works or 2 jobs at the same time. Like myself, I'm studying my Ph.D. at the same time that I'm doing this. So it's, I guess, to come into a realization that if you decide to do something like this, which probably doesn't pay you initially, you're going to have to make an effort for a long period of time. So as Greg was saying, like if you don't like this, that you're doing whatever that is, it's going to be very difficult that you are able to do it. I would say that that's the biggest hurdle.
I think that having people fall out because they don't like it is a good process. We do that with our volunteers. If they don't show up for the interview, they don't come to orientation, that's a sign, you know, and we just move on, you know. Two things I would mention. One is staying aligned with everyone. You know, I had to keep mentioning our goal is getting things from point A to point B. You know, we could want to do everything in the world, but what happens in a startup is you do everything poorly. And I've come across some startups here that are, you know, starting like us, and their plans are like to world domination immediately. But I always tell them, pick one thing and be really good at it. You know, otherwise you're going to be bad at everything. And then the other thing is getting to our market. You know, the market of people that has need now never existed before. So there's no channel to them. That's why we have to use media. They're not in any of the agencies that serve people, you know, in need, because they didn't have need before. They're first time needy people. And that creates a lot of challenges in and of itself, but just getting to them is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So we have one last question. It comes from Benny. Where are the spots of biggest needs in all of Hawaii?
I guess I'll start. The spots, well, I don't know if he means regions or otherwise, but I'll just say that the West Side and the North Shore have the most food security issues, if you want to talk about that. Because we're part of this coalition and they're always showing these maps. That's why programs like Malama Meals, you know, we do three days a week for them, deliveries for them now, and they're out in the West Side. So I would say, you know, food security, you know, and as this thing progresses, they're going to get more and more hungry. And everyone should step up and do something to help with the food. Everyone can donate. If you're eating, you know, you can have an extra can, right? So that all helps.
For me, seeing just from our nonprofit partners, it's definitely we work with a lot with food, and even brought on like a new partner today with food related, and kind of the same thing. Logistics is an issue. What I'm also hearing is payment, which is maybe Greg can talk more about if that's actually an issue or not. But that's something I've been hearing recently is how do you pay for groceries or deliveries, and when that is not really available. I don't know how valid that is, but that was just something I heard recently. But yeah, I think I think food is definitely one of the biggest issues right now in delivery, which good thing we got Greg here.
Just real quick, yeah, payment is a big issue. We just talked about that in the coalition today. People with food stamps, for example, they have to go in person to the store, and that's not so. But we have a whole list of stores that will take orders by phone or online. And for Kupuna, sometimes it has to be by phone.
I see. Okay, so we're going to jump that over to Alberto for that question.
I was gonna say, I mean, for us, I don't know. I guess that the idea from the company at the beginning was to provide Hawaii with a place to work that offer a technological position. You know, like most of the stuff and the people that I know that study computer science and probably travel things about this too. They just or either study here with the idea of living, or they just don't study here and leave directly. It's just the intuition that you cannot build these kind of things in Hawaii. That was, I guess, one of the origins and the sparkle of this. I don't know how we could help now, but the dream would be like to help some of the people that are running out of their jobs and have more security in their job positions. But you know, we'll have to figure out how we can do that. That will be the goal.
All right, one last question is, what advice would you give to others looking to start a business in the midst of a pandemic? So we'll start with Alberto, actually.
Okay, I think that also Greg mentioned this a little bit at the beginning. I guess that a pandemic is the best moment to start a business, or you know, like when there are problems on where something happens and when help is needed is when it's easier, I guess, to just stand up and try to think what else could you do and how can you help people in a way. Then I don't know, like in most of the business, I guess that if you're planning to think about building a business, you first have to figure out what you're doing and for what you're doing it. So it will be like, how are you going to help somebody, and if that's going to be actually helping anybody or not.
Right. Thank you. I'll switch it over to Trapin.
So I mean, I'm gonna piggyback off of Greg because not only that, for people who don't know, I took advantage of Greg in the PIR standpoint too of like, meeting with him while I was in PACE. So I definitely gotta repeat whatever he says here, which is I can relate it to a story of really what happened with 2020 was starting during the pandemic is. We're just trying to be helpful. We didn't really have a clear objective at the beginning of like what we're going to do and stuff, but how can we help? And then, we're seeing everything of like what the problems are and, just kind of jumping in and seeing what we finally got good at, which was really, or what was actually the most impactful, I guess you could say, which is now what we're finding out is the automation. But it took like, we in the, 4 or 5 weeks since we started, we have a full a rap sheet already of like, there are some strikeouts. There was one homer, the automation. There was a couple of singles and doubles and, a lot of strikeouts too, to be straight honest. But we just are trying to be helpful and, ask for nothing in return and saw what we can do. And then that led to other opportunities and even possibly a new business opportunity outside of that, which, we're still figuring that out as an organization, but just try and be helpful is the best thing I could say.
Awesome.
Yeah, what we do in nonprofit is very similar to for-profit. I think if you just focus on adding value, the rest will take care of itself. Like Traven got job offers, he wasn't looking for it. We've had money offered to us, but we don't take money. We don't need money. And so I remember Guy Kawasaki, when he spoke at UH, said the same thing. He said he helped Steve Case early on, didn't want anything. And then years later, stock options showed up in his box that basically bought his house in Palo Alto. So his point was just help people and the rest will take care of itself. What was the question again?
What advice would you give to others looking to start a business?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. So the pandemic is really a type of movement that we're taking advantage of, if you think about it. And so there's a lot of parallels to startups because it's basically trying to catch the wave at the right point, right? If you surf, right? You have to be in the right position for liftoff. And if you're not, you're going to, crash and burn or not be successful. So the pandemic is just an obvious movement that was thrust upon us. For startups in general, you're doing the same thing. You're just looking for other types of waves. And then you're looking for takeoff and getting that lift, right? So I think the biggest lesson is, look for those pandemic-like situations in just day-to-day life. Keep your eyes open, look for problems. And then, if you can solve that problem, then you're going to get the traction,